Oh, hey, welcome back. Come on in. You're just in time for another episode of PsychFlix. And you're in luck. Today, we've got a great episode where we're going to talk about the Grinch who stole Christmas. So I'm Jess Willens, and welcome back to another edition of PsychFlix, where each week we analyze a particular movie, current and past favorite movies, from a psychological perspective. Our goal is not so much to analyze the movie in general, but to zero in on a specific character so that you can better understand the characters that you have come to love or hate. So today we're gonna focus on the Grinch, and we're gonna talk specifically about his anger issues and why his heart was so small. Now, of course, we all love Jim Carrey, but of course the real problem is the Grinch. And how did he become so Grinchy? Apparently in Whoville, babies aren't made the same way they are in our world.
Oh, well, he came the way all babies come. On calm nights, baby Who girls and tiny Who fellas drift from the sky in their own Tomercellas.
It showed in How the Grinch Stole Christmas that the Grinch's character, the wind blew it away from the house he was supposed to go to, and he was left in the middle of the town, and his very first night he spent all night crying.
It was morning before anybody realized that he was out there.
As we continue to go through the movie, we realize that the Grinch was different in a lot of ways. Different in ways that got him made fun of and treated differently. He was green, and he was hairy. He had a beard as a child. But there was a particular girl that he had a crush on. It was Christmas time, and he planned on some elaborate Christmas gift for the girl he had a crush on. And he came to school all excited. He had made a lot of preparations, and he gave her this gift, and this moment that he was so excited about ended up turning out very, very bad.
You have a bag on your head. Probably because he's embarrassed by that idiot or his gift. Mr. Grinch, please take the bag off. Look at that hack job! Stupid trivet! Stupid trick! I hate Christmas!
Now, obviously, that was a traumatic experience for the Grinch. Now, last week, I talked about post-traumatic stress disorder, and I talked about traumatic events that can happen once, and then we can kind of go through our lives relatively normal until something triggers them again. But sometimes there are traumatic events that just end up consuming us, and this is what happened to the Grinch. Following this event, he ended up becoming so consumed with his mistreatment. He was consumed with anger and bitterness by those who had mistreated him. And what's interesting is that then we always, it's with, whether we're talking about trauma or other things, we always end up attaching other things to our anger. And so since this whole event happened around Christmas time, the Grinch became not only angry with the people who had hurt him, but he became angry with Christmas itself. Now, the problem with this kind of anger that the Grinch had is if it's not dealt with, it becomes all-consuming. It literally consumes our entire lives, our entire souls. And it's just this vicious cycle, and eventually it can consume us if we don't find a way to sort of step back and deal with it. So what do we do when we have this anger that has consumed us, and we end up sort of becoming trapped inside ourselves? Well, we have to find a way to step outside of ourselves in order to see other people as people, and in order to see reality as reality. In order to do that, it takes another person. And in the case of the Grinch, it was little Cindy Lou who was willing to see past how different the Grinch was and to see him as a person with feelings, which is how we should all see everyone. And Cindy Lou Who was amazing. She tried to get the Grinch nominated for some award, and she succeeded. And she even convinced the Grinch to come back down to Whoville, and he was given this award. But it turned out that the mayor, who actually had been the one who had been involved in his traumatic event as a child, the mayor just wanted to embarrass the Grinch again.
The gift of a Christmas shade.
Anger is typically referred to in psychology as a secondary emotion. It always comes from hurt or fear or anxiety or trauma. And in this case, the Grinch had experienced all of those things. And as a result, he allowed his anger to consume him. And now, after having been hurt so terribly, he wanted to hurt others. And that's what made him decide to want to steal Christmas. So he came up with this plan. He thought Christmas was all about gifts.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what it's always been about. Gifts. Gifts. Gifts, 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 gifts.
So he thought that if he could steal everyone's gifts and everyone's Christmas trees and all the Christmas lights, that he could prevent Christmas from coming. And he hauls it all up the mountain, and he wants to just toss it off the mountain and destroy it all. And he thinks that in doing so, he will destroy Christmas and perhaps, in a sense, destroy the very people who had hurt him. However, once again, someone came to his aid and helped him to step outside of himself. There were two things, if you remember in the movie. Now, the first thing was that just as he was about to push the sled off the side of the mountain, is he heard Christmas songs coming from down in the valley. And he realized that the people in Whoville were still celebrating Christmas. He said to himself,
Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a star. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more.
He decided that well, okay, if that's not what Christmas is, then I guess I shouldn't push this sleigh of toys off the edge of the cliff. But just at that moment, he sees little Cindy Lou who had come running up the mountain after the Grinch when she realized that all the presents were stolen, and she knew that it was him. And she was concerned about him, because again, she was the one who saw him as a person and cared about his needs. And he saw her up on top of the sleigh, and then he realized that the sleigh was sliding off the mountain. and suddenly he realized this isn't just presents that are going to be ruined if this sleigh falls.
Oh, well. It's just toys, right?
The only person who has loved me in years, little Cindy Lou Who, will die if I let this sleigh fall down the mountain.
Hi, Mr. Grinch.
What are you doing up there?
I came to see you. No one should be alone on Christmas.
And suddenly, Jim Carrey found a strength that he had never known before in his entire lifetime as he gripped that sleigh and pulled it back up. He had saved his friend Cindy Lou Who, but more than that, he had saved himself. And that's then when we see that his heart had grown.
And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day.
So now he has an even bigger heart or a bigger soul than the average person. And sometimes that's what incredible experiences like this can do to us, is they enlarge our soul. And so what is the message for those of us who are watching today? I think the message is if you find yourself consumed with anger, find a way to step outside yourself. Don't allow yourself to be consumed and miss reality. Don't allow yourself to see people or things from your own warped and selfish perspective. Step outside of yourself and see people for the wonderful and beautiful people that they are. And what you will find is that just like the Grinches, your soul will enlarge. And isn't that what Christmas season is all about? So this Christmas, I simply invite you to try and step outside of yourself and try and enlarge your soul, just like the Grinch. Again, if you want to learn more about anger and other mental health disorders, don't forget to click on my blog linked below, and don't forget to subscribe to PsychFlix. We'll be back next week with another interesting movie that you don't want to miss.